All right, rock and roll. We're back. Better than ever. Maybe I'm not quite as angry, pissed off like I was yesterday. Quite a moment. You know, I wanted to start out the Monday kind of on a little better foot, whatever attitude, mental adjustment, whatever you want to call it. Oh, my hair still in the hat. Welcome to the Scorched Earth podcast. I'm John, your host. If you could hit that like and subscribe button, I'd appreciate it. Leave a comment. Tell me what a redundant piece of crap I was yesterday for going off. But you know what? I was talking to super producer Stacy, and you know we got into this thing, and for me it was, you know, a lot of people have asked me like what's the end play, what's your goal? And really my goal is just to get the word out. You know, I'm not going to be Joe Rogan, I'm not going to be Dave Portnoy. You know, I get that, that's okay. But, you know, if I can speak to the voice of discontentment and fear in America, if I can maybe be a little symbol, like somebody was talking to me the other day and they were like, man, aren't you worried about repercussions? And I'm like, no, I don't effing care. Let's go. Let's get it. You know, it's like I said at the beginning of this podcast, you know, we talk about the veterans, and you know, a couple days a year we salute them. And honestly, it's all bullshit. Straight up is. And what I mean by that is we have no idea what they went through. We sit there and say, thank you for your service, but they're hollow words. Like, you know, we're living in a society where people get effing pissed when their phone or their computer buffers for 30 seconds. You know, do we have any idea what these servicemen were in Europe or in Japan or in the Southeast Theater, and they didn't have food for 3 weeks, and they didn't have clean water, and there was dysentery, and they never knew if they'd see their families? No, we don't have a clue. We don't have a clue. We're pissed off when the lady at the counter at McDonald's can't get to take our order within 2 minutes. We're hot. Like, oh, I can't believe this. This is horrible. Yeah, I know, right? And like I said at the beginning, this is our fight. And I'm not going to compare it. I'm not comparing it to like my dad who was in Korea or other people who had relatives in Vietnam or World War II. You know, those were fights. Those were fights. Those people, you know, you see Platoon. They did things we can't even imagine, but we pay them lip service. Oh, thank you. We don't have a real clue. This is our moment, and that's how I feel. I mean, am I going to make a difference? Probably not. That's okay. At the end of the day, when they put me in the dirt, when they put it on top of me, I'll know I tried. That's it. And that's all we can do. We can do the best of our abilities. Not everybody's going to do the same thing, but God damn it, let's all stand for something. Let's all believe in something, you know? And that's what I think separates us from the right. They only care about the here and now. They don't care about the future. They don't care about this country. They don't care about goddamn democracy. They tell themselves they do, but everything that their culture, that their political party does is the antithesis of that. You cannot, no sober human being can tell me that Trump is not trying to consolidate power and become a dictator. It just doesn't make sense on any level. Defying court rulings. What is that? Come on. Okay, does he get there? I don't know. And you know, the line is us. It's me and you. And we got to believe in something. And we do. And I appreciate you listening to me ramble on every night. I love talking to you. I love the comments. But you know, I got to put skin in the game. I can't just be just a big hunk of guy. You know, hey, hello, more than a pretty face. So Yesterday, I'm going to tell you a little story I saw. I decided I needed a little break. I was a little worked up, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to go hang out by a pool. Now, thank God we live in Southern California. Southern California is terrible when it gets to like 75. It's like, oh man, cold front. Anybody who's on the East Coast or in the Midwest right now, you can disregard everything I'm saying, okay? It wasn't 75 and sunny yesterday, right? So there's this pool at this resort, and I know how to get in for free. Hello? Like, I'm going to pay? Come on, man. Fight the man. Fight the man. So I get in there, and I'm hanging out. And there's these two ladies. I don't know. They're about 15 feet away. And, man, God bless these ladies. You know, I don't know if they were a couple or they were just friends or what. They were doing some drinking. And, you know, you always got to respect that. These ladies were laying it down. And you could tell we don't give an F. We don't give an F. They were knocking down these rum and cokes, man. They were just going at it. And they were giggling and they were having a good time, right? And you know how you get to the bar and you can see people are just floating away? They're just going, well, that was these two ladies, right? Hey, man, they're staying at the hotel probably. Everything's cool, whatever. These ladies would just go in. They'd get wet. They'd come back out, you know, and then they'd have a couple. One of them obviously was a health freak because her rum and coke, she had to get Diet Coke. Yeah. Because you know what? When we're attacking the liver, we want to make sure we keep the stomach nice and tight, right? So these ladies, they jump in the pool. They are wetter than a car that came out of the car wash, right? They got long, beautiful hair. They're beautiful people. And they're so drunk, they take the towel and they just wrap it around their waist. I'm like, wow, look at that. And then they head off into the hotel. Wow. This is kind of wild. So I'm just chilling, whatever. And I see a hotel employee take off, and he's got a bucket and a mop. I'm like, what the Sam Hill is that? And okay. He comes back out. I walk over to him. I go, hey, man, what was the bucket and mop for? He goes, those ladies were so drunk. I mean, when I saw them walking out, they weren't walking a straight line. They were doing figure eights. I don't, really. It was like an Olympic skating thing. They were all over the place, right? I think they were in synchronicity, but I don't really know, okay? The guy tells me they were going down the hall and they were leaking water. He goes, it was like a hose that had a leak. He goes, it was like Hansel and Gretel. You could see where they went, to the elevator and then to the other floor. He goes, I was mopping for 20 minutes. He goes, it was like a stream, maybe a small river. All I could say, you ladies, I salute you, man. If you're going to get your drink on, you know what? You wrap that towel. You don't wrap it around your head. You don't dry off your upper body. No, man. You put it around your waist and just let the water flow. We're having a drought here in California anyway. I don't know if it really helped going, wetting the hallways, making it look like, the Caspian Sea. But, hey, man, you go, girls. I'll never see them again. But you know what? It was kind of a cool thing. Kind of made me wish I was a binge drinker. But I just, that's not my thing. I don't want to miss one of these podcasts. All right. So we're off and running. Like I said, please, if you could, hit the like and subscribe button. Leave some comments. And we're taking no prisoners, telling no lies, and off we go today. We are going to start with our favorite human being, old Chuckles Schumer. And here he was on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker. And let's see some wisdom that came out of old Chuckles.
Because of your decision, Leader Schumer, last week to clear the way to pass a Republican funding bill and avoid a government shutdown, you have faced calls from outside groups, even members of your own party, to step aside as minority leader. When asked about your future to town hall, Senator Michael Bennet said, quote, "It's important for people to know when it's time to go." Leader Schumer, Are you feeling pressure to step down?
Look, I'm not stepping down. And let me just say this, Kristen. I knew when I cast my vote
Bullshit.
against against the government shutdown that there'd be a lot of controversy, and there was.
Duh.
But let me tell you and your audience why I did it, why I felt it was so important. The CR was certainly bad, the continuing resolution, but a shutdown would be 15 or 20 times worse. Under a shutdown, the executive branch has sole power to determine what is, quote, essential. And they can determine without any court supervision. The courts have ruled it's solely up to the executive what to shut down. With Musk and Doge and Trump and this guy Vogt, Voght, I think is how you spell his name, as the head of OMB, they would eviscerate the federal government. On day 2, they could say, oh, SNAP, feeding hungry children, not essential. On day 4, mass transit, all transit, aid to the states, not essential. We're cutting it. On day 6, Medicaid, we'll cut that by 20, 30, 50, 80%. We'll go after Social Security. We'll go after the veterans. Their goal is to just eviscerate the federal government so they can give more tax cuts to their billionaire class over there. And so it would be devastating. And here's what makes one more thing. Here's what makes it worse. There's no off-ramp. Who determines how long the shutdown would last? Only those evil people at the top of the executive branch in the Trump administration. And one senator, Republican, told a Democratic senator, colleague of mine, and this guy is close, this Republican senator is close to the Doge Musk people, they would keep the government shut down for 6 months, 9 months, a year, till everyone was furloughed and gone and quit, and there'd be no way to stop it. So I thought that would be so devastating to the Republic and anger so many people that we actually went forward with a shutdown, which have even worse consequences than the CR. It was a vote of principle. Sometimes when you're a leader, you have to do things to avoid a real danger that might come down the curve. And I did it out of pure conviction as to what a leader should do and what the right thing for America and my party was.
You know what? I don't want to throw up here. But let's dissect what this human verbiage that Dunnage is talking about. And Kristen Welker, that all is. But let's go over what little Chuckles says here. He says it's a vote of principle. Okay. What about your loyalty to the people who elected you, who wanted you to stand up? Okay? You betrayed us. You are a Judas. You let us down. Now, let's get to the meat of his bullshit argument. His argument is, well, they could shut down the government, and then they could arbitrarily decide they're not going to pay Social Security, and they're not going to pay the transportation, and they could shut it down for 6, 8, 9 months. Chuck, and this is where I'm angry at Kristen, the exact same thing happened in 2017. They shut the government down for 35 days, and Trump crumbled because the pressure. His disapproval rating went up to 71%. I'm sorry, it was 19. Apologies, wasn't 17. Want to be right here. And you were in the Senate. You saw him crumble. So now you are placating a guy who's just not funding these departments. He is arbitrarily ending the Department of Education, which is only supposed to be ended with congressional approval. The guy just said, I'm just not going to pay any bills. That's how we're going to end it. Chuck, you betrayed us. You let us down, and now you want our support. Chuck is a goddamn loser. He should be out of our party. He has no part of what we are at. Maryland Representative Glenn Ivey last week in a town hall, called for Schumer to step down. Nancy Pelosi has subtly, in that San Francisco speech, said that maybe it's time for him to step aside. Jasmine Crockett, who is one of the rising stars of the Democratic Party from Texas, Senate Democrats have to sit down and take a look and decide whether Chuck Schumer is the one to lead. AOC, there's a deep sense of betrayal. She's exactly right. You know, everybody talks about AOC, and I love her. They say, well, she's so good with social media, and she is. But she is on our side, like Bernie. They cut through all the BS. This guy is BS. Everything you just saw is BS on BS. It's that is the swamp. And I hate to say the Democrats are part of the swamp, but how do you see this guy 10 days later and he still doesn't understand how he betrayed us all. That is the swamp. He has cut the knees out of the people who support him. Look, at the end of the day, I understand what Trump's going to do to me. I don't consider it a betrayal. He's told me, this guy, this Chuck Schumer, he told me, hey, I'm with you. We're all in this together. And then he cut our knees out when we had a chance to fight. What are you waiting for, Chuck? Waiting for another political action committee to stuff your already overstuffed pockets with some more money? Maybe the ACLU can give you some money. Maybe a high-priced defense attorney can give you some more money. He just doesn't see it. He's in a bubble. He's in a bubble. You know, and it's kind of like, I'm going to get to this in a second. We got 4 Gen Z political action committees: Sunrise Movement, College Dems for America, United We Dream, and finally Voters for Tomorrow released a joint statement after this. If you refuse to fight for our future, we will find leaders who will. You know, I saw a cute little post from our tyrant-in-chief, and he was talking about that North Carolina town hall that went sideways last week, and he said, oh, it's all Democratic activists in there, and they were rabble-rousing, and, you know, and it was, maybe I'll put a clip up of that tomorrow. I only have the technology to put up one clip a day, okay? Excuse me. Maybe I'll get better. I'm doing my best. Stacy is doing very good, leading me down that path, but I'm a little scared. There, okay? Don't hate. But at the end of the day, there was a town hall, and this representative from North Carolina said, oh, I think Zelensky needs to apologize to Trump. And the crowd overwhelmingly booed him. I mean, they booed him out so much he was shocked. His eyes got big. Like me when I saw those 2 ladies splitting with literally water just flowing off them. You know, it was like Moses was leading them through the Red Sea, except he had a path. They were just going through the water, right? That's how much they were peeling off. And at the end of the day, they're both sides are living in a bubble. I mean, Chuck Schumer is living in this bubble, and so is Trump when he says, oh, you know, these people. You know what? There's a reason the Republicans aren't doing any more town halls, because they know they're going to try and weather the heat. At the end of the day, this is the people in the Senate who are going to be up in 26, and the people in the House, they're up every 2 years. They're saying, well, we just got to weather it for the next year. Our political campaign doesn't start till March of next year. That's what they're saying. They're hoping the boat's going to get righted. Well, you need to fight it now. I know right now my personal congressman, this real a-hole, J.L. Bernardi, he won't even have town halls. I called over to his office. Hey, when's his town hall? Oh, we're looking at the schedule. That's code for no effing way, buddy. We're not doing that, because I'm bringing my phone and I'm bringing my tripod and we're going. Jay's going to be asking some questions. All right. We're going to have some We're going to have some nice little odd things in the news. I picked this one up, and this is really odd. Bear with me if you could. So we got this story out of Montana, the great state of Montana. It's where everybody says they want to go live until they get there, and then they say, why did I leave? Wherever it was, I was. So the state board, medical board of Montana, had evidence a doctor was hurting his patients, yet they renewed his medical license twice. All right, here we go. Let's go down the rabbit hole. Montana, we love you. They got some great outdoors, you know. Got Yellowstone. A Montana hospital fired Dr. Thomas Weiner. I wonder if he's related to that pervert Anthony Weiner, who is the mayor of New York. Was he mayor of New York? Or he was a congressman. Sorry. He was the idiot Democrat. Yeah, we got him too. They turned over, a Montana hospital fired Thomas Weiner and turned over thousands of documents to the state medical board. But the agency that renewed his license said they were unaware of them. Okay, go a little deeper. Since at least April of 2021, the Montana Medical Licensing Board has had evidence that Thomas Weiner, Dr. Thomas Weiner, a popular Helena oncologist, has hurt and potentially killed patients. Okay. I'm going to try and not make fun of this because it's serious. I personally was misdiagnosed with cancer. This is a pretty serious thing. But I guess really where I'm getting at is even after they understood that, they still renewed his medical license twice. So Weiner directed the cancer center at St. Peter's Health in Montana for 24 years before he was fired in 2020. Then the hospital turned over 64,000 pages of documents to the medical board with accusations of him overprescribing narcotics and treating quite a few people who didn't have cancer with chemotherapy. All right. A ProPublica piece in December revealed that a trail of patient harm and at least 10 suspicious deaths under his care. Oh, boy. But then the Board of Medical Examiners renewed his license in March 2023. The state received, like I said, over 160,000 pages of documents talking about his, I guess, malpractice in the hospital for up to 10 years. And also relating to suspicious deaths for 64 patients in 2021 alone. You know, I worked at Kaiser. And obviously, I was just a carpenter. I wasn't on the medical side of it. But one of the things, and I was even inquisitive back then, you know, in my youth, back when I couldn't legally day drink, like those girls. God bless them. God bless them. And I would ask nurses and doctors, and I would even, sometimes I would see representatives of medical devices. I remember I met this nice lady once. We were in a break room, and I was like, what do you do? And she was like, oh, I deal with this device for bladders, and it helps whatever it did. It was way over my intellectual capabilities. But I asked her the question. I said, so you go around to hospitals? She goes, yeah. In Southern California, I probably go to 10 different hospitals a month. And what I do is when the procedure is going to happen, I tell the doctor, I explain all the medical information. Sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't. And I go, what do you mean sometimes they take it? And they say, you know, they're doctors. There is a God complex that exists out there. And they say, okay, I know what I'm doing. I don't need you. Well, she would have to be in there, and sometimes they would do it according to protocol. Sometimes they wouldn't. And I asked her, I said, and I've wondered this, how do you know if a doctor's good? I mean, really. I mean, there's no rating system. There's no whatever. And I asked her, I said, how do you know? She goes, well, I asked the nurses and stuff. And I go, what does that mean? I mean, like, for somebody on the outside of the bubble, how are they going to know? And she goes, you don't. You don't. You get who your HMO gives you, and you just hope they're qualified. Okay. And I'm not here to scare everybody, but, you know, my mom's had a lot of medical. I was misdiagnosed. They told me I had liver cancer, and they were actually talking about chemotherapy. And I kind of held out, and it rectified itself. I'm not going to get into the whole story there, but you know, when you get very dire medical news, you freak out. You know, and they're not always right. And I am not impugning the medical system here, but I'm just saying that we put a faith in the system. It's kind of like me being a Catholic and putting my faith in a priest. You know, there was people who got betrayed with, and it happens in the medical industry too. All I'm saying is I believe in the medical system. I do. I'm not out here chanting. I'm not doing, you know, alternative medicine, homeopathic, whatever. And I'm not putting those people down. I don't agree with it, but man, that's their journey. I mean, Brother Bill, who I love, his daughter had a friend who had cancer, and she wouldn't get medical treatment. She wouldn't get Western medical treatment. She went the homeopathic way, and unfortunately she, I guess, got scammed. People said, give me a couple $1,000 and I'm going to get you the root of herb and the rhino horn and all that stuff. I mean, I'm not joking. And to cure her cancer, and unfortunately this beautiful human being went away. And I don't even know how I got on that part of it. But all I'm saying is, you know, the medical board, you put faith in that they're going to do it. And we look like now when you say, well, you know, the government's so bloated. Well, the reason it's where it is so it's checks and balances, so it keeps us safe. That's a big part of it. Okay. I got a question. We're going to get rid of the education department. How is that going to increase test scores across America? How does that work? How does that work? Okay. Yeah, right. Going to be just excellence on excellence. How come all the red states are in the bottom half of education in this country? Yeah, they're going to do great on their own. Just going to be utterly fantastic, I'm sure. All right. I'm running a little long tonight. Appreciate your patience. Let's get over to our good friends from the north, the Canucks. Canadian Prime Minister Mike Carney called for a national election on April 28th. Thank you. Now, the Liberal Party he represents was down 30 points in December, and the Conservative Party was up. They were going hand in hand with Trump. They were locked at the hip. Oh, we love Trump. Trump's great. Blah, 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 blah. Funny thing happened on the way to an election landslide. That's probably, I don't know enough about the machinations. That's probably why Justin Trudeau stepped down, because he thought he was going to lose. Well, since returning to the White House in January, seems like Senior Trump, he's repeatedly threatened the Canadians. He's threatened to annex them, destroy its economy with our tariffs, and to make them the 51st state. All right. After this, we're going to have a movie and a beer. Maybe Canada can hang out with those two ladies I met at the pool. Or I didn't meet them. The Conservative Party has now done a 180. And they are lock, stock, we don't like Trump. They are worried. Their country is going to go, these tariffs are going into effect next week. It's going to destroy their economy. Okay. It's going to hurt America, too. It's going to destroy America's economy, too. But, you know, hey, who cares? So the challengers, Pierre Poilievre, I think that's his name. Maybe I'm wrong. It's okay. You're not going to be around long. You only have till April 28th. I got to say, Mark Carney did a really smart thing. The fever, the anti-American, he's got the momentum. This is a nice time to seize power. It doesn't mean because he wins the election, it's kind of like in America where he controls the government. They do coalition parties, and you need a majority of the people in the House and the Parliament. There's 6 different parties that run for elections over there. I kind of admire it, as opposed to there's only 2 here, and there only will be 2 here. Because make no mistake, the enemy of the Democrats and the enemy of the Republicans isn't the other party; it's a third party. And when John Anderson, when Ross Perot started to pop up that idea of a third party, they both concentrated on eliminating it, and you haven't seen it since. Ross Perot, 20% of the popular vote. Yeah, we ain't going to see that again. Sorry, not today. All right, that's it. Thank you for spending your day with me or some time with me. I really appreciate it. I love you all. Don't be sad because it's coming to an end. Be happy because we're in this together. And I tell you, we're going to win. You know, it's people like you make America great. Sincerely. Forget the slogans. Forget all that other bullshit. You know, it's your belief. It's your morals. It's your fortitude that's going to win this battle. And we're here together, and we're going to do it. And we're going to be happy on the other side because this is our moment. This is our moment to see what we really stand for. And I love you all. If you can, hit that like and subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And I guess I'll see you tomorrow.